you ever actually, like, flirted with Nikki?
I'm gonna go get some shots.
I'll come with you if she means this much to you. And I know she does. Say, Nikki, I think we should grab a drink sometime.
Nikki, wait. I was gonna ask you,
What?
I lost my train of thought.
Alright.
Good night. What else?
Why?
One wish, Willow. You only get one wish. I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
I love you so much. A love only the branch of a willow tree could conjure.
It's weird how you two are dating all of a sudden. Like, super dating.
I think Nikki is going through something.
Like, what? Is she okay?
No.
Jeez, what kind of spells you put on her?
Nikki? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you! I was calling to see if there's a way I can cancel a wish.
I'm sorry, we don't really do that.
So she's just stuck like this forever?
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you live.
As long as I live?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. This is Mike. Joining me, as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations to the lovelorn among us, which I don't think any of us three count in that, but I'm sure we've got a few people listening who wish they had a special someone sitting next to them. Anyway, how the hell you doing, Mike? I'm doing all right.
I'm doing all right. If everyone notices I sound a little different, it's because I am recording from my phone currently because the power went out. We're having crazy winds today, and it's funny because, like, it really hasn't messed with the power at all the entire day. And then about a half hour before we started recording, I ran to the store really quick, and while I was gone, my wife was like, hey, the power flickered a couple times, but it came right back on. I was like, okay. And then when I planned to get on Zoom on the laptop, I was going to mention it to you guys. Hey, just in case I disappear, this is what happened. And then it went out like a minute after you posted the link for Zoom. So right now, currently on my phone, if the power comes back on before we're done, I will find a way to transition back into the usual input. But we'll see how it goes. But also with us is Dawn and Nelly. What's up, Dawn?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
All right. Let's get into our movie, which is Obsession, kind of the big release of the week. And it's from Blumhouse. So let's look at the synopsis. After breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. All right. What was that dark, sinister price for our viewers of the movie? Venom, you're up first. General thoughts on Obsession.
I think the One Wish Willow was $6.99, wasn't it? So I think that's the price. Anyway, obviously, anyone who knows me or listens to any of the shows knows that I don't watch trailers, so I knew very little about this movie going in. I fully anticipated not liking this movie. We've seen the Wish Gone Wrong horror films. Most recently, we had Wish Upon, which I famously hated, so I fully did not expect much from this movie. But going into the film, I had no idea that this was written and directed by Curry Barker. And if you guys remember Curry Barker, he is, of course, the writer director of Milk and Cereal, which we all enjoyed. If I remember correctly, we all enjoyed it when we reviewed it on this show. What was it, last year or the year before? So, had I known that going in, maybe my expectations would have been a little bit higher because I absolutely loved Milk and Cereal. So, the verdict on Obsession, I am thoroughly surprised how much I actually enjoyed this movie. This movie is definitely not an action driven film. This is a performance driven film. Our performance from Indy Navarrete, who is our main character, or the female main character, she plays Nikki. She is the one that The Wish is about. Of course, if you've seen the trailer, you know our main character, wishes to be with a girl or for him to love her more than anyone in the world. And of course, everything goes sideways after that. But it went sideways in ways that I fully was not expecting. I was expecting to be just this overly possessive girlfriend that got violent and schizophrenic at various points of the movie, but there is so much more happening here. And this performance from Indy Navarrete was just amazing. I was in awe of this performance. Yes, the wish goes wrong. Yes, she does become possessive, but she does it in such a different way that I was fully not expecting. Like, it's almost cute at first. Literally, like when the wish is first made and Nikki's personality changes, it's almost kind of cute the way that she is suddenly into our main character, Baron, or Bear for sure. All his friends call him Bear. But then when the craziness happens, holy shit, it is crazy. And man, they almost delve into like, well, actually, I'm not going to say that because that might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I will say that there's an element to the whole One Wish Willow that they started to explore with this movie in a couple of different scenes, but then they just kind of left that plot point dangling. And that's going to be my biggest disappointment of this movie, is the fact that they explored it seemed like they were going to explore an avenue that normally these wish gone wrong movies don't go down, but they just kind of left it dangling. Our ending is fairly satisfying. I was fairly happy with the ending. We do get one great kill in this movie, and then one, just someone getting shot in the head type kill. But the one bloody kill that we get is pretty gnarly. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I even enjoyed Nikki's mannerisms and even what she was saying while she was performing that kill, and directly after the kill was over. I just thought it just tickled me. So yeah, like I said, I am actually surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. This ended up being one of my top movies of the year so far. It is solidly in my top 10. It potentially might be in my top 5 if it weren't for the plot points that they leave dangling. There's 2 major plot points that they kind of try to explore, and then they just kind of leave it unanswered, which we'll talk about during the spoiler section, of course. So yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I was very surprised at how well it was done. I think the cinematography here is really, really well done. I mean, for a guy that only has a YouTube movie under his belt, this is only his second feature, second feature that he's written and directed, and the first that plays in theaters and is actually full length, because Milk and Cereal, if you remember, was only a 1 hour long film. We still counted it as a feature because that's the cutoff for me personally, is an hour. Anything below that, I'll call a short. Anything at exactly an hour or over, I will definitely call a feature. So I'm glad to see the kind of the progression of this writer director. His cinematography has gotten so much better. His writing has gotten better. Some of the tricks that he pulls in this movie with like film playing in reverse just looks so great. And like I said, some of Nikki's mannerisms after the wish is made, just nothing like I expected to get out of this movie, especially considering it's from Blumhouse, which, you know, we all famously are not big fans of Blumhouse, especially what they've done over the last 5, 6, 7 years or so. It seems like for every one good movie they make about a dozen just, you know, middle of the road, if not just flat out bad movies. But I'm very happy to say that this is a good Blumhouse movie. If you're into great performances, then I think this movie is going to make you very happy. Like I said, it's not action driven. You could even say it's kind of a slow paced movie. Though for me, once the wish is made and once Nikki starts, like Nikki's personality starts changing, I'm engaged every second the rest of that film. Like I said, I just absolutely love the style of crazy that she goes with. On the main show a couple of episodes ago, I talked about a found footage movie that I saw earlier this year called Be My Valentine. And I praised the antagonist in that movie, you know, being like the crazy, overly possessive girlfriend. But this performance in Obsession is about 10 times better than that one. Like that, and not to put down the performance from Be My Valentine. Like I said, I still enjoy that movie. But after watching this one, holy crap, like this is easily my performance of the year now, thus far, less than halfway through the year. Indy's performance, I just, holy shit. Like walking out of the theater, I couldn't get over the things that this writer director was able to get this actress to do, especially an actress that really didn't have much of a genre pedigree. I think the only thing I would have recognized her for was the Superman TV show, not Lois and Clark, but there was another one from like the 2010s that she was in. And that's pretty much the only thing I recognized her from. But now, after seeing Obsession, I am thoroughly interested in the continued progression of both Curry Barker and Indy Navarrete's career. Like I said, this movie potentially is the surprise of the year for me thus far. Thoroughly expected to hate it, ended up walking out of the theater loving it, despite some of, like I said, the unexplored plot points that we get. And ultimately, Bear as a character, he makes some decisions in this movie that leave me scratching my head. Even some of his reactions to Nikki's craziness kind of leaving you scratching your head. Like, why is this guy not called the police sooner? It's so insane. But yeah, overall, like I said, I recommend this one. This one gets a strong recommend from me. I say it's not necessarily vital theatrical viewing. Like, you know, the score was fine. Yes, the cinematography, some of the shots, the way that they were kind of composed are just really, really nice with like Nikki in the shadows where you only see her silhouette. Like we get that a lot in the film and it's almost always effective. So yeah, overall, very surprised with how much I enjoyed this one. Not my favorite of the year by any stretch, but definitely up there. Hopefully, it makes my top 10 because I kind of felt the same way about this one that I felt about Together after seeing that last year, where I was, you know, very kind of high on that one and was really hoping it would make my top 10, but Together did not end up making my top 10 for last year. So, you know, let's hope that Obsession kind of holds its place. But ultimately, if Obsession does fall out of my top 10, that means that a lot of great movies came out the second half of the year, and I'm always down for that. So I'll cut off my general thoughts there and say, yeah, very surprising, and I recommend checking this out. If not in theaters, then as soon as it hits streaming. So with that, I'll say back to Mike on his phone.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to hear every stupid click I make because there might be a sound effect so on the mobile app, but hopefully it'll be a minimum. So over to Dawn for your general thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of came away pretty much the same way with Venom did. I don't really enjoy the premise here. It seemed a little hokey. It seemed a little cliched. It felt like it was pretty much gearing it up to be like, you know, Psycho Girlfriends, you know, like that kind of a genre where you don't really get too much, you know, it doesn't really go as crazy as it wants to think it is. And it's pretty much just, you know, her committing various misdemeanors and genuine crimes and nobody reporting it, kind of a thing. I'm kind of surprised it didn't go that route, even though it initially had the initial sequences where she does start turning her affections on him, kind of start going that way, but then it genuinely turns into a far more entertaining film, and I really like that. The second half is far more enjoyable than the first, and the first is where I have a few issues, and I'll get to those in a second. I love the setup. Once we get to the wish gone wrong kind of a thing. That's a far more interesting thing than, like I said, just the psycho possessive ex that just can't take a relationship. And it does something interesting that again, we'll talk about it later. Just like Venom said, I kind of have the same issue with him that I think you did, and we'll talk about that later in spoilers. But yeah, once we get to that part of the film, then yeah, it gets a lot of fun. Stalking scenes are great. I love the atmosphere. I love the look of everything, where it feels far more genuinely horror than it does thriller. The kill, the main kill, I should say, but I wasn't too disappointed with any of them, to be honest. I thought they were all pretty fun and far more fitting for this kind of a film than I thought they would be. But yeah, to me, I think the main problem I have with this is I just don't like Bear at all. The I know way too many guys like this just toxic male mindset of, well, I don't know how much we want to get into his character, but I just felt he was not really that deserving of a relationship, and the mindset of him deserving somebody, just it felt incredibly off. And I don't want to go too deeply into it, but the starting point of where the film goes, how he gets a hold of the wish tree, or the book, or whatever it was. I only saw it once, and I don't quite remember what the actual object was. But once he gets a hold of that, all of these scenes are just highlights how just the wrong male mindset, and it just really takes me it really takes me out of the film, just to get this kind of a loser and this pathetic schlub kind of a guy who feels like he deserves the relationship, and the toxic mindset of him trying to force the relationship by any means possible. It just feels like it's the wrong kind of a mindset, and a lot of that kind of, I don't want to say it gets wiped out. It still kind of lingers over like the second act, but it's still just a hard entry point for the film. And then to me, that's kind of where it takes a lot of. I mean, like I said, the second act does do a lot of goodwill to reverse this, but it's still just something that, for me, it kind of hangs over the film. The plot points with all of the wishing, how all of that works. Again, I don't want to get into too deeply, just because it is a spoiler, but again, that kind of lingers over for me. And as much fun as I have during the second act, it's still not enough to keep this as a solid recommend. I do agree it's worth watching. I do think it's something that you should give it a shot once it hits streaming, probably by the start of next month. But yeah, I'm not as high on it as Venom. I'm probably pretty close, but I don't think it's like the modern genre masterpiece so many trailers and TV spots have hailed it to be. I had a few issues in that kind of with that area of the film, but overall, I still thought it was worthwhile. I mean, it's still, you can still take a chance on it, especially with this guy. All the news articles that have come out since, saying about all the different projects he's going to tackle. It's great to, chart a new, voice in the genre and see his career from the beginning to, where it's going to go. But Not quite the genre masterpiece. Still fun. Not a definite theater recommend, but definitely something worth watching when when you get the chance to it. But yeah, since a lot of the other issues I have are kind of spoilery, and I don't really want to go that deep into it, I'll say back to you, Mike.
All right. So, um, yeah, Don, I agree. Bear sucks. And like, I, I think you can argue that he's a little sympathetic when things start happening, but to me, he gets worse as the movie goes. But, we can't really get into details about that until spoilers. But as far as the movie overall goes, when I was leaving the theater, I was kind of like on the line of, is this a great movie or is it a good movie with a great performance by our lead actress? And I'm leaning more towards this being a good movie that's elevated with a great performance. And sometimes those performances are such like a home run that it gives you like a more positive view of the movie overall. But so far it's a one-time watch. I've only seen it once, so based off that, I would put this movie firmly in the good category, but a fantastic performance by our lead. Um, I don't have a lot of like critiques, complaints, but I kind of agree with Venom on some. Okay, I think some of the stuff with the mechanics of the wish and how it works and what exactly is going on with our uh I guess because I don't know if the movie wants Bear to be the protagonist or our lead actress. That I guess we could discuss that as we go, but I'll say for her, um, I think one of the mistakes the movie makes is it it introduces some like ideas and concepts around the wish mechanics, I guess, but they feel incomplete or even like not making 100% sense. Or to because to me, like, we've all seen several monkey paw movies or cursed objects or talisman. And it's pretty obvious, that like whatever they wish or whatever luck it brings them, there's always going to be like a bad side. It's never going to end up good. So we kind of know that going in. That's not really a spoiler. But most of the time, we don't get too much lore over like how it works. We're just kind of supposed to suspend disbelief, which I don't have a problem doing. Like, it's a cursed object. It's gonna bring initial good fortune, but there's going to be the other shoe is gonna drop eventually. We all suspend that disbelief and we go along with it. It's fine. This movie, I feel like the our Curry Barker, it's like he wants to introduce a little lore to it, but it's like if you think about it at all, I don't know, I think he shouldn't have even done that, to be honest, because then to me that you end up to me at least, I end up asking more questions and like not really and the other thing I would say is I think we all fully expect um what's the lead actor's character's name in this? I powered down my laptop.
Actor or actress?
The actress, her character name,
Nikki.
Nikki. We all expect her to go like psycho eventually. Like, I don't think that's a surprise or we didn't expect it. But I do think like it's like there's stuff she does like early on that I'm like, is that something someone would do that's like love you and a devote like it? I don't know. And it's not like the running time is short where they had to expedite her going psycho. It just felt like I don't know how this is her expressing her like obsessive love. Like, if some of that stuff would have happened like further into the process, it would make sense. And like obviously I can't divulge details of what I'm talking about yet, but um so we can get into that in the spoilers. Overall, I still find it to be good. It's entertaining when the shit hits the fan in like the last 20 minutes, maybe I would say. it's great. We get some graphic stuff. We get a pretty dark ending, and we can also talk about the director's original ending when we get into spoilers. So I still think the movie is like good. I was entertained. It was loud, aggressive, a fun theater watch. The crowd was like reacting to it well. So I definitely get why it's a crowd pleaser. I just think there's certain elements to me that I would refrain from calling it a great movie. Now, as far as where it stands for the year, I would still probably say at this point it's a top 10 movie because when I look at everything I watched this year, I just don't think, for me personally, there's a lot of great movies yet. There's good movies and a couple ones that I would probably elevate past good, but there's not. I mean, there's the caliber of movies I would say to this point still puts this somewhere in the top 10. But that's with like barely halfway into the year. So um, I still think it's worth it. I would still go see it in the theater. Like I said, I think it's good. I just stopped short of great, and we'll get into why once we hit spoilers. So I'll leave it there. Back to you, Venom.
I agree with you that it's good. I'm just shy of great. Like I mean, because I do agree with you that it's this performance that elevates this entire film. I mean, every scene that Nikki is in, she's compelling, she's interesting, she's manic. I mean, there's so many adjectives I can add to this performance. So yeah, I totally agree that this is an
Yeah,
average movie
yeah. I
elevated
will
by an
say,
amazing performance.
yeah, I will say, like when we get our setup, it's okay. Well, actually, scratch that. When the movie, when at the end of the movie, as the credits were rolling, my initial thought was like, this is way better than what I expected once we got our setup. Because the setup to me was like a
Yep.
typical Blumhouse where we take kind of like a classic horror movie setup trope, and that's what we're going to base our movie. Like they do it all the time, and usually they turn out to be like kind of mediocre. When the credits were rolling, I was like, well, what actually was just like a typical Blumhouse like setup, this one was way better than like a lot of them. So like I I want to make it clear, like I did think the movie was good. It's like the more I think about it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can call it great. And like this will probably be where like later in the year, once it hits VOD, a second watch will be pivotal for where it kind of lands among like the year. So I'm looking forward to that, but like entertaining nonetheless. So back to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. Uh, we actually get an appearance from Andy Richter, like the biggest name in this movie. Andy Richter is only in the movie for all of what, 2 minutes. He's here as the owner of a music store where our four main characters all work together. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of a weird use of a name actor. Not that Andy Richter is A list or even B list by any stretch, but just the fact that we know who he is and they put him in this unassuming role where you didn't need a name actor, but I still found it entertaining. I think he had one funny line in the movie, but otherwise I actually feel bad for him because well, shit, nope, I can't say that, that's a spoiler. But anyway, yeah, by the end of the movie I do kind of feel bad for him, even though he really has no bearing on this movie whatsoever other than being the boss of our four main characters. But yeah, nice to see him anyway, because I was a fan of the Conan O'Brien show. So obviously, I like Andy Richter, so blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, this movie kind of hangs on its storyline, so I'm not sure what else I can really say about this. I mean, I agree with all of the issues that everyone has with it. Obviously, me and Mike have the same issue with the dangling plot points that aren't explored. I'm not going to say that I don't like the fact that Curry actually used it and left it dangling, because at that moment, from that moment to the rest of the film, I was a lot more interested in the mechanics of the One Wish Willow. So, And did anybody else find it odd that the owner of the store where he bought the One Wish Willow kind of knows that it works? Like he
Well,
was so nonchalant about it.
that was I was gonna bring that up in spoilers because there's two trips to that store, and the way the clerk. Well, I guess the first person's the clerk and the second one's the owner.
Uh-huh.
They interact very differently when it comes to this Make-A-Wish thing.
Uh-huh.
Like it,
Exactly.
it it's I don't even want to talk about it more until spoilers because I feel like we just got to like get into it once we
Yeah, I just
broach
found
the
it so
subject.
odd that he was so nonchalant. You know, the fact that he was like, "Oh yeah, it works." Like, really, you've got this magic item in your store that grants wishes, and you're only selling it for $6.99. What the hell? Like, I like a part of me wants to think that that store owner has something to do with the whole scheme, or you know, however this thing works, because he just seems so nonchalant about the fact that, oh
Well,
yeah, it
yeah,
works.
and that kind of relates to like my critique of like the greater lore of this because it's like, well, wait a minute, like this this kind of, I guess you would refer to it as like a supernatural object, and it not only are you like selling it for 6.99, but it's just kind of sitting out there like for anyone to walk in because like people could be making some pretty nefarious wishes like it's
Exactly.
so that's the kind of stuff that like I'm like I know like sometimes you're not supposed to think beyond like the surface level like fun aspect of it, but I feel like this movie makes a few mistakes where you don't really have to do much thinking too deeply to be like, well, hold on a second. So we can get into
Exactly.
that more in spoilers though.
Yeah, there's definitely many examples of that in this movie, which is kind of keeping the movie from being great. Like I said, some of the plot holes, and then some of just the kind of plot points that you think that they're going to explore, but then they don't. They just leave it there. So yeah, too bad. But anyway, with that, I think this will be your spoiler warning. So if you haven't seen Obsession yet, I would strongly recommend to go check it out before you listen to the rest of the episode. Otherwise, go ahead and join us for our more detailed thoughts on the movie. I'm not going to go into a big old walkthrough about this one. It's kind of pointless because we all know the walkthrough. Without even seeing the movie, you know the walkthrough. Four friends who all work at a music store. Obviously, Bear is our main character. His name is Baron, but all his friends call him Bear. He is in love with one of the mutual friends in the group, a girl named Nikki, and then the other two people in the group are Ian, the more kind of how can I put it, kind of like the alpha male of the group, if you will, and then Sarah, who's a pretty girl. It's hard to. She wants to be an artist. I believe, was it an artist or a musician? It was something artistic anyway.
Who
And
of course is the one that actually likes Bear.
exactly, yeah, and that's the other thing. And she's an incredibly attractive girl too. It's like Bear. I agree with Don. Bear doesn't deserve love. He literally has a beautiful girl who's funny, intelligent, talented, and he doesn't see it because of his, well, no pun intended, obsession with Nikki. And it just, yeah. I agree with Don and Mike. Bear is just terrible, and he just doesn't deserve anything that he deserves a lot of what he gets in the second half of this movie, but yeah. Whether he deserves a relationship with this girl, no, I agree with Don. He does not. So
Well,
anyway,
I also think, and I think the problem, like what makes him not sympathetic is he, it seems like he's the type, his character is written to be the type of guy that like he's so afraid of like rejection that he won't just like be truthful about
mhm.
his feelings. And then when he has an opportunity to
Oh, that scene.
sidestep like his feelings with the wit, because like, okay, I guess we're just gonna have to get into it. When he first does the wish and she
Oh,
comes
you got
back
to
out
do
of the house.
before the wish, though. Oh man, but it's what happens before the wish that pisses me off to no end. Literally, let me set it up. Our four friends go out one night. Two of them, Sarah and Ian, go. They want to keep going and drinking and doing karaoke, whatever. Nikki wants to go home for whatever reason. She just doesn't feel like going out. Bear offers to take her home. He drives her home. When he drops her off, Nikki literally says, and these are the exact words that she says: "Do you like me, Bear?" because if you do, this would be the time to tell me. And I'm sitting there like, fucking say something, dude. She's literally, oh, and the reason that I think that she's being a little sympathetic with him, I did kind of skip over a very traumatic thing that happens right when the movie starts. Bear's cat ends up dying because it got into a jar of his Vicodin. I think the jar said hydrocodone, which is Vicodin. How the fuck does a cat open a child-proof pill bottle? Like what? So I guess I'm expected to believe that Bear just left the bottle open, like maybe on the bathroom counter or something, and then somehow the cat got to it and ate half the bottle, which again doesn't make sense because cats don't like things that taste like shit. I mean, if a cat were to take a lick
Yeah,
of a Vicodin, they would just be like that and keep walking. They would not eat half the bottle. And this is coming
yeah,
from a lifelong cat owner.
yeah. Even if the cat like somehow managed to like eat one pill out of like morbid curiosity, I don't think it's gonna keep going.
Exactly. I don't even think it'll eat the one. Once it gets the flavor of the pill in its mouth, it spits it right. I mean, have you ever tried to give a cat a pill? I do. I do it. I do every day, twice a day for the last 13 years. It ain't easy.
Yeah,
I assure you, it's not.
plus cats, because of the way they're designed, they don't just swallow things like a pill. They would try to crunch it up and it would turn to powder in their mouth.
Exactly.
Like, doesn't make
Yep.
much sense. Again, we're
Yeah.
gonna suspend
Suspension of
disbelief, I guess,
disbelief, I
but
guess. Yeah.
just don't
Exactly.
think.
So, like I said, movie starts out with the death of Bear's cat. And then this on this particular evening, when he gives Nikki a ride home, it almost seems like Nikki is almost it wants to give him some sympathy sex. And it's like, hell, sympathy sex is better than nothing. Take it. But what the fuck does Bear do when Nikki literally flat out asks him, do you like me? And if you do, this is the time to tell me. What does he say? I think we're great friends, like the wishy-washy little bitch that he is, and which is one of the many reasons to not like this character and to not feel for him. And as far as Mike's point on who the protagonist and the antagonist is, I can't call Bear a protagonist. I dislike him so much that, on top of the fact that he is the catalyst for all the horror that happens in this movie. So obviously the Willow itself is like, the main foil of this movie, but Bear is the antagonist in my opinion. Nikki is just a victim of circumstance. But anyway, I digress. So after Bear fails to tell Nikki that he likes her, she goes to go back into her house. He starts berating himself, asking himself, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just tell her the truth? And then he pulls out the One Wish Willow, which is something that he bought earlier in the film as a gift. As it turns out, Nikki has recently given her 2-week notice at the music store, and Bear is worried that after she leaves, he may never see her again. So he decides to try to buy her a gift at this weird little gift shop. He finds the One Wish Willow for only $6.99 and decides to take it. It's actually one of those new age stores, because I think what happened was she had lost her crystal necklace and he went into that store to buy her another one. But then he doesn't know anything about crystals, and they had like 50 different kinds of crystals that all do different things, as far as like mood and health and blah, blah, blah. So he ends up deciding to get this One Wish Willow. Point being that as soon as he pulls the thing out of the box, basically the instructions say make a wish and then break the willow. It's like a branch. It's like a braided willow branch inside of a small box. It can't be any more than like 5 or 6 inches long. Probably not even that long. It might only be like 4 inches. I don't know. Guys are always really bad at gauging length. Anyway, he makes the wish, but his mistake, rather than making a normal wish like, I wish Nikki loved me, or I wish I could have a relationship with Nikki, he fucking literally made, and we see this in the trailer too. I did watch the trailer after the film. He literally wishes for, I wish Nikki loved me more than anyone on the planet. what a fucking ridiculous wish to make. I mean, you literally could have just wished for her to love you as much as you love her. And then you could have had a nice whirlwind romance and everything would have been fine. But he made the mistake of saying, I wish she loves me more than anyone in the world. And literally, as soon as he breaks the one wish willow, we see Nikki turn around on her porch and come back to start talking to him. And instantly, her personality's different. Now she's inviting him inside. She wants to take him inside. She's like, you know, you're hurting because of your cat, and I feel bad. So why don't you come in? And, you know, we can talk about it. But he, for some reason, decides to be really standoffish about it. Like, yet another reason to hate Bear. He makes the wish, breaks the willow, but then as soon as Nikki's personality change, he starts questioning what's happening. And I'm like, you dumb fuck, you just made the wish. What are you talking about? You don't know what's happening. It just, like I said, one of the 47 different reasons to hate Bear.
Well, see, this is why I was saying, like, in the initial, right after he makes the wish, I can understand why because he's probably confused. Because, like, if that was me, I would not think that the wish thing worked. And the other thing is, like, Nikki, and this ties more into, like, what I was saying about the lore of, like, how exactly it works, because the way Nikki acts when the wish, I guess, starts happening, she almost seems like bipolar. It's not like, to me, she's not acting like undying love. It's like she is just erratic. Like,
it's schizophrenic. It's just flat out
yeah,
schizophrenic.
and to me, so I understand why initially Bear's like, what the hell is going on? Because it's like one statement, she's like starting to be affectionate. Then it's like she's almost snapping out of it, like, the hell am I doing? And we'll kind of see that continue throughout the movie, which I feel like is like what I was talking about when it looks like Barker is like trying to add some lore and like almost like over explain how the wish works, but I don't know, like, I mean, I'll leave it at
It
that for
falls
now
short,
because there's
definitely.
more examples. But so, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so Bear at this point, he's kind of like, I think he's into it a little, but he's still very confused about the way she's acting. Because, like, if he would have made the wish and then she turns 100% affectionate, maybe he like puts it together like easily, but like he's kind of like see, and here's like the trajectory of his character, because in the immediate aftermath it feels like he doesn't want to go along with her affection because he's almost like doubting it. So I'm like, okay, okay, now you're being like a decent person, because in the event that she's only acting like this because of the wish, and you're like, yeah, I don't know if I should go. So for like the 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay. But then, of course, once she pours it on a little more, he's like all for it. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you're a piece of shit, actually. So I guess
Yeah,
continue.
exactly. So that night, Nikki ends up going to his house. She literally jumps back into his car and says, "Let's go back to your house," with this big shading grin on her face. While there, of course, she decides that she's going to sleep over. Bear, for whatever it's worth, you know, he doesn't want to sleep with her right away. Like, he says he'll take the couch and she can sleep on the bed and blah, blah, blah. But of course, eventually Nikki kind of coerces him into bed. And just as things start to get really hot and heavy, it's the first time that Nikki almost snaps out of it. Like, she literally like pushes him away, screaming, like, what is it? What the hell's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then just as quickly as it happens, she snaps back into loving Nikki. And she starts apologizing. Oh, I don't know what happened. I thought I saw something, blah, blah, blah. We never find out what she thought she saw. She just keeps saying, I thought I saw something. But, you know, nothing, again, nothing comes from that. So I'll skip over a bunch. Obviously, you know, the friends, Ian and Sarah, are both wondering why Nikki is suddenly in love with this guy. Bear doesn't understand it either. Ian actually brings up that Nikki might be having a mental health issue and that Bear might be taking advantage of her. Obviously, once we find out a little bit later on in the movie the true nature of Nikki and Ian's relationship, you kind of find out why Ian kind of has this mentality of Bear potentially might be taking advantage of her. Sarah is kind of the same way with Ian, you know, wondering why the sudden change, blah blah blah. uh and what's funny too is that Nikki doesn't have a relationship with her parents in this movie. That's an avenue that I would have liked to have seen, because imagine if both her parents were in the picture and then Bear makes the wish, I wish that she would love me more than anyone in the world. The parents would instantly know there was something wrong, because it's like, whoa, what happened to our loving daughter who suddenly doesn't want to be anywhere but next to this guy? So I mean, I would have liked to have seen, because then, Nikki probably would have just ended up killing her parents, which at least would have added more body count to the movie, because ultimately the movie does have a fairly small body count. I think it's only two, to my knowledge. Well, three if you count the ending, but we'll get to that. So like I said, the friends are questioning it, and then Sarah confides in Bear that Nikki never intended on having a relationship with him, to the point where she actually joked about Bear being in the friend zone. Like, she actually had made comments in the past about Bear being in the friend zone and that he was never going to get out of the friend zone. So it's like, but suddenly Nikki is head over heels for him. And like I said, just various crazy things happen. At one point, Nikki hits herself in the face with a brick, just almost to get Bear, like to get under Bear's skin. It's almost like it's not Nikki. And remember that statement, because there's more clues to kind of point to that. Let's get to the scene in the trailer where Bear calls the number on the back of the box. We get a mysterious voice, and of course, if you've seen the trailer, you know the setup for that scene. He calls the number. He asks, is this real? Blah, blah, blah. I don't remember the exact dialogue during that scene, but the voice on the phone starts talking very cryptically. And then he ends the conversation with, would you like to speak to Nikki? And Bear is like, well, wait a minute, Nikki's in my house right now. She's literally, I'm looking at her, she's in my house waiting for me to come in. And the voice says, would you like to speak to her? But all you hear is screaming, and it sounds very much like Nikki screaming. But how can that be if Nikki is in his house right now? Later in the film, there's a scene where Bear sneaks out of the house. He sneaks out of his own house while Nikki's still sleeping. As he's about to walk out of the bedroom, we hear Nikki ask him to kill her. Literally, Nikki says, kill me, please kill me. And Bear's like, what are you talking about? Why would I kill you? And then she says something that kind of piqued my interest. She says, please kill me while she's still asleep. Who the fuck is she? It's starting to sound like a possession movie, which, of course, me loving demonic possession movies, it piques my interest instantly. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say there's that. There's also the scene, not the first time they have sex, but the second time.
Oh, when she's just laying
where
there.
she's just laying there, kind of showing zero interest. So to me, we're all what it, and again, like, I'm gonna sound like a broken record when it comes to lore, but it sounds like they're setting up the lore that, like, in I guess in this particular wish, because we see another wish that has nothing to do with possession, I don't think, but it what it seems like they're trying to set up here is that in this particular wish, like, Nikki's taken over by, like, another entity that is, I guess, devoted to Bear, and it's not actually Nikki, which, if that's what they want to do, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But even that phone call, I feel like if I was like Bear, I'd be like having a lot more questions. Well, first of all, when the guy answers, it doesn't seem like it's a company answer, it's just some dude. But
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, I would have been asking like, well, how exactly does this wish work? But then it kind of comes back to like Bear himself. Like, does he really like? I feel like Bear, and I think he even says it right on the call. He's like, well, I just kind of want to. Can you tone it down? Like I don't mind her loving me against her will. I just want you to kind of tone it down so she's like a normal loving girlfriend. And that's to
Mhm.
me really saying like, yeah, Bear deserves everything that's coming to him in the next like half hour because like and then there's another point which we will get into eventually of dialogue where yeah, he seems like he feels like he's entitled to uh have her trapped in this relationship, even though
Mhm.
he has got enough hints by now that it's against her will. Like this is she has no agency in this, and
Yep.
you know this by now, yet you're still going along with it. So yes, we should hate you, Bear.
Absolutely. So, and then to continue with that scene, why is Bear sneaking out of the house? He's sneaking out of the house to go see his friend Sarah. Now, him and Sarah, it seems like him and Sarah have been friends the longest. They're like very, very close. Uh, she's trying to get into art school currently, and she's gotten nothing but rejection letters. And she received the letter from the last school left that she applied to. I think it was Luther College or something like that. So basically, she wants to open the letter with Bear there. She doesn't want to do it by herself, or she's scared, or she doesn't want to be alone if it's another rejection letter, whatever the case may be. But Bear is able to successfully sneak out of the house. He meets up with Sarah in her van. I'm not sure where they're parked, but about halfway through their
I think it's like in a
conversation,
parking,
yeah.
like
Oh,
a
right, right. It was a park. So like halfway through their conversation, just as they were about to open the letter, the camera pans back to Sarah's side of the car, the driver's side, and there's Nikki standing outside the car. She takes a brick, she smashes the window open with the brick. Then she takes the brick, anchors it on the steering wheel with her hand, with her left hand, and with her right hand, she repeatedly smashes Sarah's face into the brick. It is fucking gnarly. I'm
it's
sure it's
brutal,
CG. I can't imagine it was practical, but god damn, it looks good. And it's
but
uncomfortable.
and they're smart enough to do it at night in the dark because the
Yeah.
use of shadows really it covers up any like CGI that they might have used. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, this is an example. This scene is an example of. I think we all know when he sneaks out of the house and he successfully gets out there. I have a feeling, at least
Oh,
most
yeah.
viewers have the expectation Nikki's going to show up and something's
Yep.
going to happen. But what actually happens so far exceeds like what I was expecting that it almost doesn't matter that you were pretty sure there was going to be a
Yeah.
confrontation. And I love it when a movie can do that. It sets up a scenario where you're pretty confident a fight or at least
Yeah.
some type of confrontation is going to happen and you're like okay, and then once you actually get where it's going and it happens you're like I'm still shook from what just happened.
Exactly. And it takes a while. Like she smashes Sarah's face into that brick about a dozen times, maybe more. And there's no sound, there's no score during the scene, so all you're getting is the sound of sinew and bones smashing into a brick. And every now and again the camera will pan over to Bear and he's just sinking into his seat like he's just trying to back away from the situation, but obviously he can't. And then, literally, as soon as Nikki stops smashing Sarah's face into the brick, she's right back to cute Nikki. She's like, "Oh, Bear, this is your fault. You know that, right? This is totally your fault. You did this." But she's doing it with such a whimsical, like, tone of voice that it's almost like
and,
a game to her.
and I think she's even said like you got exactly what you wanted.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's right. She does say that multiple times in the film. You got what you wished for. You got what you wanted. Something along those
And then we
lines.
get the pan back to Sarah's crushed face which was gnarly.
Oh God, eyeball hanging.
Yeah.
Oh, so great. Sarah, potentially my favorite character in the movie, and she gets absolutely
I know.
destroyed.
I was kind of like, not. I mean, upset within the confines of the story because it was an awesome scene. But I was like, oh damn, Sarah didn't make it.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, Bear gets the idea of going back to the store to ask to see if anybody there knows anything about the One Wish Willow, where they came from, and more importantly, if they have any more.
I,
We
I'm
actually get kind of a funny scene because he walks in asking for the One Wish Willow, and the store owner is there this time instead of the clerk that was there the first time he was there. And he's just, at first he's fucking with them. He's like, what? We've never sold a One Wish Willow, which obviously would kind of track for a horror movie that he found something that the store actually doesn't sell.
Yeah.
But then the guy's like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. They're right there behind the counter. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then the conversation is like, Bear is asking, I forget the exact questions that he's asking, but the guy is so nonchalant about it. Like he absolutely knows that this fucking thing works, yet he's still selling it, knowing that potentially the wishes can go wrong. And I think that's the whole point. I think every wish with the One Wish Willow goes wrong because there is one more wish coming, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But anyway, like I said, Bear ends up buying 2 more One Wish Willows. And then he goes to his friend Ian's house. This is after he finds out that from Sarah, which he found out at the park, the Sarah's death scene, just before Nikki shows up, that Ian and Nikki have been fucking around on the side for years. Now, neither one of them are in a relationship with anybody else, so it's not like it's scandalous or anything, but, obviously Ian knew that Bear loved Nikki, and you could see throughout the movie how Ian would try to talk him out of it, try to tell him, nah, I don't think Nikki's going to be into you, and blah, blah, blah. At one point, he's actually like, no, don't you dare say anything to Nikki, during karaoke about how you feel about her, blah, blah, blah. You got to pick a different time to do it. Anyway, Bear ends up going to Ian's house with one of the One Wish Willows that he just bought, and he tries to explain everything that's happening to Ian. Now, obviously, as with any normal human being, they would hear this story about a guy buying a $6.99 novelty item that actually works, and that explains why Nikki is, suddenly in love with them. Ian is under the impression that Nikki is trying to get back at him, trying to get back at Ian for whatever, some perceived slight maybe that Ian did to her in the past. So that's why, but then he also brings up the mental health thing, that maybe Bear is taking advantage of a girl with mental health breakdown, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, as the viewer, we know what's going on. Anyway, he's trying to convince Ian that this thing is real. Ian obviously, is like, oh, don't be so stupid. This is just a fucking novelty that you bought at a store. And Bear is basically just begging him, can you please just wish that I never made a wish? All you got to do is wish that I'd never made a wish, break the willow, and this whole thing is done. Instead, Ian says, I wish I had $1 billion, and then breaks the One Wish Willow. Bear instantly starts yelling, but then as soon as Bear starts yelling, it literally starts raining money in the apartment. It's like raining sacks of money. Literally $1 billion in cash is just raining into Ian's apartment. Bear calls him a selfish dick and then just leaves to go back home to where Nikki obviously is still waiting for him. When he gets home, he sees that Nikki did not dispose of Sarah's body the way she said she was going to. She literally stripped Sarah naked and tied up her body in a chair, making it look like Bear killed her while she was in captivity. Like he kidnapped her, stripped her naked, tied her to a chair, and then smashed her face in. So I guess, if the police were to show up, obviously Bear would get accused. Bear is just freaking out at Nikki, mind you, and I haven't even talked about some of the cool visual effects that we see in this movie, like with the backwards film. Like there's a couple of times when Nikki is in shadow and she moves very jerky. She has very jerky motions, almost like a demon would move in a demonic possession movie. Just, you know, more clues that this is more of a possession than a wish gone wrong necessarily. So literally when he gets home and sees Sarah's body tied to the chair but naked, he starts freaking out, telling Nikki that, you know, what's going on? I told you I didn't want any more crazy stuff happening. Why are you doing this? And then Nikki again picks up something, I forget what, but she picks up a blunt object and starts smashing her own face with it, at the same time yelling at Bear, saying, why won't you love me? Why won't you love me the way I love you? And she's just smashing her own face. Finally, Bear is able to stop her from smashing her face long enough for Ian to walk in. And basically Ian is like, hey man, that thing works, man. I got $1 billion in my apartment. Literally the instant he walks in, Nikki pulls out a revolver and just shoots Ian right in the fucking forehead, killing him instantly. Which, like I said, this is making me believe that every wish made with the One Wish Willow will be cursed. Ian wishes for $1 billion, and literally 3 minutes later, he's shot in the face by the girl he's been having sex with for the last couple of years. So,
yeah, I think as we get to our finale here, I think one thing we missed about the phone call is mentioning how to cancel the wish, which is basically you got to off yourself and it'll break the curse.
Exactly. I mean, because, you know, obviously Nikki is going to love, or, you know, whoever is inside of Nikki is going to love Bear until he dies, basically until the day he dies. So at this point, after Nikki kills Ian, shoots him in the head, they have another shouting match where finally Bear just screams at the top of his lungs, I love you, which appeases Nikki long enough that she's able to kind of she calms down, face all bloody from beating the shit out of herself with whatever that object was. And then Bear decides, I need to go to the bathroom. And Nikki, obviously being so possessive, she's like, can I stand outside the door? She asks permission to stand outside the door while he uses the bathroom. Oh, and I forgot to skip one of the craziest, or excuse me, I skipped one of the craziest things that happens in this movie. The day after Bear makes the wish, he has to go to work. But Nikki doesn't have to work that day. And Nikki literally is trying to convince him to not go to work, to stay there with him. But then, you know, he's like, no, I got to go to work. I can't miss any more time, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, fine, go. Like almost like she's upset about it. But then when he turns to the door, it's completely sealed with duct tape. She literally, it looks like she took like 3 whole rolls of duct tape and just taped up the front door to the point where it was exceedingly difficult for Bear to get the door open. Now, eventually Bear does get the door open. He says goodbye to Nikki and then closes the door and leaves for work. The instant that he closes the door, Nikki freezes in the exact position that she's in, looking towards the door, smiling. And the shot holds on that for an uncomfortable amount of time. Like the whole time you're like, cut. And it's like, nope, we're just staring at Nikki. Suddenly, the camera pans down and we see that Nikki pisses on the floor. She literally urinates herself, but she's not moving, mind you. She's frozen in place.
Exorcist
so Bear,
style.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. So when Bear comes home, the instant that he opens the door, Nikki unfreezes and her mouth is full of saliva. There's a pile of shit and piss below her. Like it literally looks like she has not moved from that spot, which is exactly what happened. So it's almost like early on during the wish, she is okay with him going and doing stuff on his own, but she literally freezes when he's gone. I don't know if that's out of spite or if that's the quote unquote entity that potentially might be inside of Nikki controlling her. But yeah, that was a fucked up scene. Especially, I mean, because Nikki is not an unattractive girl. She's a very attractive girl. Short, very well built, nice face. I mean, she's very attractive. But to see her covered in saliva and piss and shit is just it's almost a shocking scene. Like you see it and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And she doesn't even know what happens. Like when she unfreezes, she's like, oh my God, I made a mess. I don't know what happened. I'll go take a shower right now. That was a crazy ass scene.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man.
And that's the thing. It's like, well, because from what we get, I lean towards some type of entity is controlling her, but then there's almost like the mid version where, because why is she frozen? I'm not sure, but when she unfreezes, it's like she's still somewhat controlled by the entity because she's not like totally awake. She's just unfrozen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't really know why or how. Also, I mean, right off the bat, one of the most unhinged things she does is with the cat. And I don't, and the thing is, I don't understand. And this was my confusion about early on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm trying to piece it together in my head because if you go with like how the friend got killed almost immediately after he got the money, maybe in this world building, the wish goes dark immediately instead of the initial like success or good side, because I felt that like Nikki, obviously she's not as unhinged as she gets later, but to me from almost the start she's not like acting like a loving, adoring like girlfriend would.
Exactly.
She spits out.
It's almost like
I was gonna
it's
say,
almost like whatever's possessing her thinks that that's how you show love.
Yeah.
And it's obviously incorrect, but at the same time, if something is possessing her, it's obviously not human and probably never was.
Well,
it wouldn't know.
It's almost like an AI version because like, okay, if you told like an AI that like an AI system, hey, he really loves his cat, and then maybe the AI would confuse that and be like, oh, well, you should serve him the cat for lunch, like because the AI doesn't understand like what love for your cat versus like that doesn't mean he loves to eat cat, like
exactly. So like if the Buddy doll from the Child's Play remake would have done this, I feel like it would have made more sense.
yeah, and
but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just I think there were some missteps in like the mechanics of how the wish worked, even though overall I'm still on board with like most of the movie. I just think it unnecessarily presents like critiques and questions that weren't necessary for this type of movie. There's also I thought the party scene was pretty cool too when it was almost like a Jenga tower with like dares where you pull the Jenga block and then there's like a
it's exactly what they were playing. We actually sell that at my store.
Okay, yeah. And when she stands up and like makes that frown face and like everyone gets all awkward about kiss the person to your left.
So funny. Oh god, yeah, that scene is great. Absolutely great. But anyway, back to our finale. Like I said, at this point, Nikki has shot Ian in the head, but Bear was able to calm her down by screaming in her face that he loves her. He then goes to the bathroom, and while in the bathroom, he's trying to figure out, what are his options. And then he makes the decision to, commit suicide. He basically pulls out the same bottle of hydrocodone, Vicodin, of course, that killed his cat. And he was
too scared to shoot himself, remember? Because
that's right, he couldn't shoot himself. Yep, you're right. It's funny too because he puts it in his mouth and he points it straight into his mouth, but then he realizes, oh wait, that won't kill me, that'll just go out the back of my head, near my spine, it might not actually kill me. So then he points it up towards his brain and he puts his head up to the top of up, or excuse me, he puts his hand on the top of his head where he thinks the bullet is going to come out. And he's like, okay, yeah, this will do it. But then he chickens out and he can't actually do it. But like I said, at the finale now, he decides to go ahead and commit suicide. He takes the bottle of pills, but then when he comes out of the bathroom, he acts like nothing has happened. And he literally just starts slow dancing with Nikki. But then suddenly he starts to slow down and then he falls over. He starts foaming at the mouth. And that's when Nikki starts screaming, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then it literally, as soon as the life leaves Bear's body, Nikki snaps out of it. And she literally pushes Bear's dead body off of her. And she's looking around. She sees Ian dead on the floor. She sees Sarah with her head smashed and naked, tied to the chair. And then, of course, Bear still foaming at the mouth on the floor. And she just starts screaming. And that's basically the end of our movie.
You caught what Nikki did, right? When Bear was in the bathroom?
Which one? I'm sure I did, but go ahead.
Maybe you were walking through it and I got some stupid alert that like diverted my attention. When Bear was in the bathroom and he's in the process of taking all the pills, Nikki she snaps that other Make-A-Wish thing. And
oh no, I was getting to that. No, that's the end. Yeah, you skipped ahead of me. I was getting to it.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't know that she snapped it until literally the last frame of the movie. That was the point I was trying to.
Well, no, I heard it in the bathroom because it makes that jingle.
Right. It makes the jingle when you pull the thing out, and then you probably heard the snap. But I'm saying you don't get the confirmation until the very last shot of the movie. So basically, like I said,
that's the reason. I mean, the reason I thought it was pretty apparent she did it is because after he takes the pills, like he's going to commit suicide, the way he comes out of the bathroom and now all of a sudden he's like acting like he's head over heels for her. I'm like, oh shit, she made the wish that he would. We don't know the exact, I think, but like, oh, that he would love me the way I love him probably is what the wish was. Because then all of a sudden he was 100% down and they embraced. And then go ahead, Ben, and finish us off. Well, you kind of.
Oh, thanks for taking over. I don't think there's anything left. You stole.
Yeah, you already kind of did the ending.
I was gonna say that after Nikki snaps out of it, pushes Bear off to the floor, and is just screaming at the top of her lungs, the camera pans over and shows the second, or should I say, the third total One Wish Willow that he bought. Remember, he bought two when he went back to the store the second time. So the camera pans over and shows that, Nikki actually did make a wish in her possessed state, either possessed or, whatever you want to go with the mechanics of this whole thing. And yeah, at first, like as the credits were rolling, I'm sitting there like, what the hell did she wish for? Like, I thought that was just a dangling plot point. But then like a few hours later, I remembered that Bear's kind of tone changed after he came out of the bathroom, after he took all the pills, which was probably the exact moment that, like I said, we hear the sound effect right after he takes the pills. So there you go. So like I said, walking out of the theater, I didn't realize what she wished for, but it made sense a few hours later. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay.
It almost felt like a twisted take on the end of Romeo and Juliet.
Well, I've heard many people say that this is very much Romeo and Juliet. So
well, like a twisted dark version, but
oh, of course. But I mean, I did watch an interview with Curry Barker and Indy Neverett, and he did actually mention Romeo and Juliet during that interview. He didn't specifically say that this is his take on Romeo and Juliet, but he said that yes, there are a lot of similarities between this and Romeo and Juliet. So yeah, there you go, folks. That is Obsession 2026. And I definitely didn't give it any justice. And I definitely didn't give any justice to Nikki's the performance in this. I mean, she is very obviously the shining light of this movie. Her performance, her psychosis, her just schizophrenic tendencies absolutely drive all the, the storylines of this movie. most of the enjoyment from this film is going to come from Nikki and, you know, the way that she acts after the wish is made. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
sometimes
definitely didn't do any justice. Go ahead.
I was gonna say sometimes horror movies make new stars because like Florence Pugh with Midsummer like got put her on the map. Anna Taylor
Well, I was
Joy
thinking, I was when after walking out of the theater, I likened it to Lupita Nyong'o in Us.
in
Like
Us,
that was
yeah.
one of the first times we ever saw her, and I was floored by her performance in that movie as both characters, as Red and the other one. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing here with Indy
Barbara
in her
Steele and Black
performance.
Sunday for a throwback.
I'll go with that.
I literally just
Uh,
watched that this morning. That's why it was on my
oh,
mind.
nice. Well,
The Scream
so
Factory 4K, but
yeah. So like I said, I mean, if you're into more action driven horror with lots of set pieces and, you know, gore and lots of, you know, a high body count, then this definitely isn't the movie for you.
I
But if you're looking for great performances, and just a different take on the wish gone wrong subgenre, I think this is vital viewing. Like I said, I don't know that you necessarily need to see it in the theater, but I definitely would say before the end of the year, check this one out. You know, save it for October if you have to, but this is a solid film with some great performances, one very special performance, and then a lot of good supporting performances because both Ian and Sarah do well at what they needed to do in that movie. You know, the messages that they needed to, you know, kind of convey to bear and everything else, I thought they did fine. But definitely it's Nikki that steals this movie. Her performance is so manic. At times you feel bad for her, but then at literally 5 minutes later, you want to see her get killed. You know what I mean? So that's a
yeah,
solid performance right there.
ultimately I feel bad for her because to me,
Oh yeah.
like looking back on it,
And then
she's everything she's doing is involuntary.
absolutely. But then think about the end of this movie. Nikki's fucked.
Well,
She
yeah,
shot
it's a
Ian.
bleak ending.
Her fingerprints are going to be all over that gun. Her DNA is going to be all over Sarah's body. Because don't forget, Bear never touched Sarah's body. They're only going to find Nikki's DNA on it.
Yeah.
Nikki's going to jail for the rest of her life, even though this poor girl did nothing wrong. She's fucked.
And
Bear.
Assuming she's not going to remember anything from when she was possessed or whatever, she's not even going to have any idea about the Make a Wish thing. So
No,
not
not
that
at all.
anyone would believe her, but she's not even going to know to try to blame it on that in the first place.
I mean, you know, maybe if she sees the broken one that she used right before Bear killed himself,
Yeah.
potentially,
I
maybe she could put it together, especially with because eventually the cops are going to find $1 billion in Ian's apartment. Ian lives in a 1 bedroom apartment that is now filled with $1 billion in cash. So I don't know
yeah,
what the cops are going to be able to do to put this together, but it's I almost want to see the sequel to this movie just to see the police procedural.
I think
It would be so interesting.
I read an interview with Clive Barker where he, not Clive, not Clive Barker, damn it,
Curry.
Curry Barker. I did look up just in case. I was like, is there any relation? But no.
No.
Two things he said was the original ending was Nikki killed herself, but he thought that like he didn't want to like punish that character even more, so they changed it. Because either way, it's bleak because she's fucked
Oh yeah.
for her life anyway. And then
Yep.
two, he said in his mind, this is almost written at, I can't remember if he said a sequel or a prequel because just the mechanics around the wish, it makes you want to like explore more about how this almost like in the same way it follows feels like it could be a sequel or a prequel because you want to see like more of the
Yeah.
lineage of what exactly this entity is. Um, I will say I am glad that Bear eventually went back to the shop because I remember when I was watching the movie, like the first 45 minutes or so, I was like, if he doesn't at least go back to the shop to either get another one or ask questions, to me that's going to be a huge plot hole because if it was me, common sense says, well, go get another one and
Mm-hmm.
outwish or cancel your initial wish. At least try. I was like, if he doesn't at least try to do that, that's too big of a plot hole. But thankfully, it took him a little longer than I think it should have. But at least he did go back to maybe because eventually he realized this isn't gonna work. Like
Oh yeah.
I can't make her normal. So it's just too much, and the only way to break
Especially
it
with
would be
all
to
the
kill myself.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. There was no way these two were going to be happy. I mean, Nikki was just way too manic, way too bipolar, psychotic. And the way that she would snap in and out of her kind of loving attitude, just yeah, there was no way this was ever going to work. But like I said, it's all on Bear. He used poor wording when he made his wish. Like I said, all he had to do was say, "I wish Nikki loved me as much as I loved her," and then there potentially might not have been any craziness or psychosis, obviously because of the nature, or at least the implied nature, of the One Wish Willow. Maybe it would have been just as bad anyway. Like I said, I fully believe that any wish made with this thing is going to be cursed. Like I said, Ian dies 2 minutes after getting $1 billion, so um but still, I mean, like I said, this movie, if Curry Barker's intention wasn't for us to hate Bear, then yeah, he needs to work on his main characters more.
Yeah, I
Because
think
with Milk and Cereal, there was a reason to hate that main character. I mean, it was a fucking serial killer, of course. But with Bear, like, yes, he was a wishy-washy little douchebag, but he could have been likable. He absolutely could have been a likable character, but it felt like Curry was purposely just piling on to make the audience dislike Bear, which, I'm not complaining about. Bear was not a likable character, and I'm okay with that.
yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of subtext there about like
Oh,
removing
yeah.
one's agency and how like
Identity, absolutely.
I think Don
Yeah.
even brought it up in his general thoughts that like feeling that like you're just because he likes her, if he feels like entitled, like, well, I should be able to have a relationship with her because I'm a good guy, and why shouldn't she like me and want to be in a relationship? It's like, dude, that's not how shit works. Plus,
Yeah.
you never
Exactly.
even said to her that you were too chicken shit to even say it in the first place. So even if there was even if in some way she would actually give him a chance if he confessed his feelings, he didn't even do it. He took the easy
Yep.
way out and did it through the wish. And like I'll go back. I could sympathize with the initial night because he's probably confused, like what the hell is going on. But once he realized, oh, it looks like this is happening because of that wish, he should have from that point on 100% focused his energy on how do I break this wish. But he did.
Yeah. I
He
feel
tried
like
to
it took
make it
him way
work
too long.
anyway.
It took them way too long to figure out what was happening, and it took them way too long to figure out that this was never going to work out. I mean, this movie is an hour and 50 minutes long, and it definitely could have been 10, 15 minutes shorter. Like, just get rid of a lot of Bear's confusion, like those early scenes, because like I said, he made the fucking wish. I understand that he didn't 100% believe that it would work, but the point is he bought that gift for Nikki. And when he couldn't bring himself to tell Nikki that he liked her, he then selfishly used the gift that he bought for her. Just more reasons not to like this guy. He only cares about himself. I don't think he ever loved Nikki. I think he was infatuated with her. I think, once again, no pun intended, he was obsessed with her. And it just, like I said, it just made him a bad character. You can call it toxic masculinity if you want, but he's just not a very likable person.
And I'm looking back on it now. That scene when he drops her off the house, I think what put him over the edge is when she's getting out and he tries to make that cute joke and say like "Goodnight, freaky Nikki" or whatever.
Oh, right.
And
what the fuck was wrong with him?
Yeah, and she gets very. That's like the first time she kind of gets stern with him. Like, what the fuck did you say? Like, and I think at that point, he, at least in his own head, he's like, why just fucked up any chance, even if maybe she would have been open to it. And then that's seems like it causes him to do the wish because he's like butthurt over it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, like I
So
said,
that
Bear was only thinking about himself this whole movie. Not once did he think about Nikki or what she would want and blah, blah, blah. It was all about him, which, in my opinion, solidly makes him the antagonist.
yeah, and she repeats that later to him, doesn't she? I'll be your freaky Nikki or whatever.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it,
After the wish, he says it. And it's like, well, you should know there's something
yeah, you
wrong
should
there,
know
dude.
for sure she's not going to say that about herself.
But just the fact that he even said it on that night, like I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like he's self-sabotaging himself constantly, and it's like this girl seems like she would be on the fence. Like even though, yeah, she's been fucking Ian on the side, the fact that she flat out said, "If you like me, tell me now," and he still doesn't do it. It's just, I mean, don't forget that's part of the reason why I hated Idle Hands, because of Devon Sawa's character in that movie and how he literally has Jessica Alba in the palm of his hands, and he can't close the deal. And I'm like, I'm so sick of these fucking wishy-washy male characters in this movie. Like, get over yourself. Just like with Devon Sawa in Idle Hands, Michael Johnston in this movie is not a bad looking dude. You know what I mean? It's one thing if he was a fat, ugly, douchebag that couldn't get love. But, just like with Idle Hands, you're a mildly attractive, white dude, and you can't find love. Like, no, fuck you. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. As the fat, unattractive kid all through high school, I have a reason to dislike women or to think that I deserve love, and I still never ever thought that way. And just like I said, I could sit here and talk for another hour about why I hate Bear, but I think we've gone long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less irritated in like the lack of confidence versus the lack of confidence plus because of my lack of confidence, I'm gonna force you into this against your will. That's
Yep, exactly.
That's what like compounds the issue to me.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I can't disagree with anything that's been said today. Even though I'm probably the highest on this movie of the three of us, I definitely can't disagree with any of the gripes. I mean, I've got my own set of gripes that I've already talked about. So yeah, it's a really really good movie that's still slightly flawed throughout. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. But I still say that overall, my experience with the movie was positive, and I still recommend it. So I'll shut up now.
Yeah, it was still fun. It's still worth seeing. I mean, I think seeing it with a crowd it would still be a fun experience because the crowd's going to react to many moments in this. So
yeah, and I saw it Thursday night for a preview screening with a sold out crowd, and yeah, lots of laughter, lots of gasps, especially with the cat stuff. Like everybody felt bad for the cat, all the cat scenes. I was just disgusted, but yeah, it was fun to see with the crowd. So I mean, if you get a chance to see it on its second week of release, I would say give it a shot. It's worth your time, definitely.
all right, well, I guess our obsession is coming to a close, and let's find out where else we can be heard and what's new. So Venom, what do you got?
Oh, pretty much the same stuff we had last week. Creature Comforts episode 49 is the latest episode. Episode 50 is planned. It's going to be a list show for our first milestone show. We're going to do a list, but I'm still going to keep it under my hat what we're actually doing. So I'm still hoping to get that episode out before the end of the month. I mean, we haven't recorded it yet. So like I said, I'm hoping to record it and edit it before the end of the month so that it actually is out on time. And then that's, like I said, that's pretty much it for me. I missed the last episode of Cinema Beef, so I wasn't able to join that one. And then I'll let Mike talk about the main show. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right, Dawn, what about you?
Yeah, same for Venom. Pretty much just waiting on getting the next episode of Creature Comforts ready.
All right. The main show, 74, No More Room in Hell, is out. We talk about Frankenhooker and Wolf Guy. So if those sound weird, and if the titles alone sound weird, just wait till we talk about the movies themselves. And then funny story, Cinema Beef. We were supposed to record it last Thursday, and Gary pulled a move we all. I think you have to do this at least once or twice in your podcasting career, which is forget to hit record. So we were, I think,
Oh yeah, I've done it.
yeah, we were, I think, close to an hour in and decided it was too late to start over the same night. So we're actually going to be re-recording this coming up Thursday, talking about the Elvis movie Roustabout and pairing it with Crybaby from John Waters. And it, I guess the plus side is it will probably give an opportunity because it was just me, Gary, and Rich from the Doom Show. Um, so maybe because of it being postponed a week, it might give an opportunity for other people to join us if they have time to watch the movies. So who knows? We might have a bigger cast on the re-record, but that will be coming soon. And then for us, is it Passengers this week?
Backroom. I think it's
Or
Backrooms, right?
I thought
Is it? Oh,
Backrooms
wait,
was
you
at the
might.
end of the month, but
Yeah, you might be right. There's so many theatrical releases this month. I
because
confuse
that
me.
other that lesser or the smaller release Saccharin, I think is called, is also comes out this week. I think there's
Yeah.
showtimes for that at my Regal, so I'll probably be seeing them both.
Oh yeah, you're right. Passengers this week. The Backrooms is the 29th. So you're right.
Okay, yeah. So the
And
rest
then
of our
I've
May
got
is pretty
Corporate
much
Retreat.
set.
Corporate Retreat is the other horror movie opening this week for me.
Yeah,
At
I
least as
hope.
I look at the AMC app. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check my local Cinemark AMC because it last I saw it's not playing at the Regal I usually go to, but if it's at Cinemark, I'll probably still try to go catch it. So, but
Nice.
yeah, so I mean the rest of our May is pretty set for fresh cuts since
Yep.
it's all theater. So I guess with that, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back in a week's time with the next one. Let's say bye to our listeners.
Later.
Think carefully about the wishes you make. Always assume that the wish is going to go sideways. So pick your words carefully. God damn it.
Yeah, and buy a second one just in case. Peace.